In my opinion, there are 4 things that need to happen over and over again in a golf swing. There's 4 elements that you need to be really good at, or at least pretty good at, in order to get good solid strikes, predictability, and be able to play good golf. I've talked about what those 4 are in previous videos, but today I'm going to focus on just one and try to give you some things to work on in order to improve that one aspect of your ball striking. Let's get started. Hey everybody, and welcome back to Golf Test Dummy, the channel where I use my game to help your game. Like I said, I believe there are 4 things that are really the only true universal, fundamental elements of the golf swing and what creates good golf strikes. Number 1, you got to have a little bit of speed. I'm not saying that you have to be Kyle Berkshire or Bryson DeChambeau. You don't have to have that kind of speed, but it does take a little bit of speed in order to get compression on the golf ball and then send it back out toward the target. You do need a little bit of speed. It's going to help you out. Number 2, you got to have low point control. You need to be able to create the low point in your swing, which, if you don't know, let me just kind of show you here. If I make just a series of back and forth swings with this, you can see on camera where a low point is going to happen, a point which the club will not go any further down, and a point which immediately after it starts to go back up the other side. You need to be able to control that low point. Number 3, your club face. Now, I'm not going to say that you need to be able to get your club face back to square every single time, because maybe you don't want it to be square. Maybe you want a little movement on your golf ball. But you need to be able to consistently deliver the type of club face orientation to the golf ball that you want in order to create the shot that you want to produce. Number 4 is going to be your path. You need your club coming into the impact window over and over again in the same spot. You can't have it be over the top one time, underneath another, and expect those 2 shots to come out and be predictable and equal. Those are the 4 key fundamentals that every golfer works on and needs to work on. Whether you're the top pro or you're a beginning amateur, those are the things that you definitely need to be working on. Some of you had asked and given me suggestions in my previous video saying, hey, that's great to understand those and all. How can I work on those elements of my golf swing? What are some drills? And that is a fantastic question. Today I'm going to try and give you some things, 3 things that you can use in order to improve your low point control. We're going to be talking about low point control today and the things that you can do to improve it. Now, a good litmus test, right? You've all seen the tape drill, where somebody puts down a ball on the mat and then they put a piece of blue painter's tape behind that. You can lay down a towel, you can put down a sheet of paper, whatever it is, but you put something down that's relatively low and flat to the ground behind the golf ball, and you try to hit shots where you don't disturb that piece of tape or that piece of paper. That is one way to go about it. I'm going to give you another way in which you don't have to have a ball at all. You don't have to have a ball, and you can use a rug. Maybe pull a rug out of your bathroom, take it outside, set it on the ground. Just put the tape down, and instead of trying to avoid that tape, I want you to try and strike that tape. Now, don't get a 2-inch wide piece of blue painter's tape. Get a smaller thickness, a smaller width of blue painter's tape. Put it on that mat. Try and swing and try and sweep that blue tape off. Try to strike that tape off of that rug over and over again. Try to pull it off, because that will guarantee you that you are hitting the right spot with your club. The other one, when you're putting something behind it, you're trying to disturb it, you can get away with a few things, and you need to be able to hit a golf ball. Well, some of you may not be able to hit a golf ball in your backyard or your side yard or in your living room. You can't hit a golf ball. So I want you to put the tape on the floor, and then I want you to try and strike the tape. Work on that until you can hit that tape every single time. That's good low point control. Number 2, if you don't have a mat and you have the ability to go out somewhere and actually strike the ground, say a driving range or a golf course, or maybe just a place in your yard where the grass is relatively short, same kind of thing. We're just going to modify it, and instead of tape, you're going to take the divot sand bucket and you're going to make a line on the ground of sand. All right, you're going to draw that line. Now you're going to try and swing, and again, sweep that sand every single time in the same spot. Now, I've seen the drill several times where people get in the bunker, they draw the line in the bunker, they try and strike after the line. And that is great because it gives you feedback. It gives you an impact mark, a blast on the ground where you can see where you actually struck. Oh, I was an inch too soon. Oh, I was an inch late. Oh, I was right on the line. That's great to have that feedback. But if you get into a bunker and you're making swings, you have to kind of dig into a bunker. You can slide around your weight, how dynamically you swing, and you've been able to shift and keep your balance. You know, you can't swing quite the same in a bunker as you can when your feet are on solid ground like grass. So that's why I like the idea of taking the divot sand and pouring a line of that out, standing on the grass with a solid footing where you can make your normal swing and then try to work on your low point control. I think that will help you tremendously. That's 2 of them. Now, the third thing is, if you remember, I told you I had kind of a surprise today. The good people at Hack Motion, I've been with these guys now for, I think, going on a year and a half or 2 years. They've been great to me. They have been kind enough to send me out the latest version of their wrist sensor. Now, typically I'm not into a lot of training aids. The reason that I like this one is because it is the closest, I think, that we can come to something that is a piece of tech that actually deals with the movements of the club. Now, no, you don't strap it onto your club, but a lot of the other devices out there are trying to work on your body positions. They're trying to be like, oh, this is measuring your hips. This is going to measure, you know, the things they have that show your weight distribution on your feet, the pads where people are going back and forth. And that's cool. That's great. But your hands are connected directly to this club. And I've always said in order to get good low point control, the grip needs to outrace the club head to impact. It needs to win the race in order to get the low point to be in front of the golf ball. Since your hands are connected to that club and your wrist is right there, this senses the wrist, which is basically the end of your grip. It's almost like putting a sensor on the end of your grip to show you which one's winning the race. Is the butt of your grip winning the race, or is the club head winning the race when you flip at it? And I know a lot of you out there would say, oh, I don't flip. I know I don't flip. I'm telling you right now, this is a lie detector. This device is a lie detector. And I lied to myself a long time, and I still continue to lie to myself today. But this is a lie detector. You may think you don't flip. I'm telling you right now, 95% of you out there, you're flipping. All right, so I've projected the Hack Motion app up here if you want a demonstration. I've got it strapped. I use the hand sensor because I don't play with a glove, but there's a clip on here where if you wear a glove, you can clip this to the back of your glove. And the link is going to be down below with my promo code, so you can save some money if you want to purchase one of these. But I just want to show you, as I'm moving this around, you can probably see a little bit over here. It's showing flexion and extension. It's also showing radial and ulnar deviation. It's a lot of fancy terms, but basically what it boils down to is, hey, here's where your hand and wrists are. So you calibrate it, you set it up, and I've done that. It's real simple. You just hold your hand like this, then your hand like this, and then you're done, and you're into this. I've got it in free practice, and I just want to pull my 9-iron here, and I want to hit a shot, and I want to see what kind of data this gives me right off of the bat, okay? We're just going to set it up. I'm going to hit like a little half shot. I really want to look at impact. You see the impact number here? Impact is -6. And you can see this little clock face kind of representation and this little strike at the top, this little line. You can see that that line is not at 12 o'clock. It's leaned over just a little bit. Just a little bit, which means that my wrist is more like this at impact and not that. That is bad. That is not. If you're doing this at impact instead of that, that means that the grip is almost certainly winning the race to the impact zone. And that is so key. That is so key. If you're flipping, you're letting the club go, you might actually make what you feel to be, hey man, I struck that pretty well. But you're adding loft, you're glancing with your strike, and you're probably losing a lot of distance and a lot of good compression that you would get for free with the same amount of effort. So I'm not too worried about the top. Here it shows I'm -16, which means I have a slightly bowed wrist, more like DJ or John Rahm at the top, instead of a flexed wrist like a Fred Couples would have. And here at address, I could really care less. I could really care less. Like I said, some people, you might set up like this, and then when you take it in, you're still flipping at impact. You may be like that. Other people, they may set up completely flexed and then take it away, and boom, they're extended at impact. But this device, it will not let you lie. Just like pouring sand on the ground and making those strikes, you'll see if the sand gets blasted or not. You'll see if the tape gets moved or not. This just gives you a lot more data and a lot more feedback on what you're actually doing, because there are ways to strike that sand in the same place over and over again and think, oh, I've got it down. But maybe you're striking it over and over again with this instead of that. That's why this is super helpful. All right, let's do one more and let's see what happens here if I'm consistent with it. Once again, setup. I got a little bit of a cupped wrist at setup. Couldn't care less. Top of my swing, we're a little more like that than we are upright. You're at -14. Again, that's fine, but with that, you can't just look at that one thing as being good or bad. I know there's a lot of coaches out there that are saying, hey, you should be like John Rahm and DJ. You get that cup wrist at the top, you need to get it bowed. It has to be matched up with the other correct components. It doesn't live in a vacuum by itself. It's a piece of dynamic movement. So while it may be important in some regards, you have to look at it as a whole. Now, what I want to see is impact, and impact actually improved. I got -8 instead of last time. What was I, -4, -6? So that's even better. Now, I don't want to get too much. I don't want my wrist to be like this at impact necessarily, because for me, I feel like I might actually be going the wrong direction too much, and you may get a little bit weaker and you might start losing. There is something called law of diminishing returns, and too much of a good thing is actually a real thing. But impact here -8, I think it's pretty damn awesome. Now, as far as the ulnar and radial deviation and all of that, it looks like at address I'm at -28, right? So that's over here. And I'm just going to try and interpret this to the best of my ability. It looks like I'm really I'm turned almost, if I can show you down the line here, like instead of being like this at address and impact, I'm like this. So the butt or the back side of my hand is set up that way. So I'm kind of set up for impact. I know you've heard the term set up for impact from a couple of different coaches, and I happen to believe that it is absolutely crucial. Jim Venetos talks about it. Sam Golden talks about it. There's tons of coaches that talk about setup for impact, and I think that it is just a smart way to go. You're eliminating a lot of unnecessary movement, and you're eliminating a lot of variables. So I'm at -28 at setup. At the top, I'm +3, where my hand is kind of like this. All right, so it's going from this position to doing that and then coming back down. But at impact, I'm back to -22, which is pretty close in a lot of ways to where I was at address. So if I've set up for impact, right, and I've got my shaft already leaning a little bit forward and my arm kind of at this position, and then when I come back to impact, my arm is kind of in the same orientation this way, pretty much as it was at setup. That's really good. When you can start where you want to finish and then bring it back to where you want to finish, you're going to be able to do a lot of great stuff with that. So again, I think this device is fantastic. The link's down below. You can use it. But definitely get the tape, get the sand, practice that. If you do nothing else other than go out in your yard and take no tape and no sand, lay a tee on the ground, like flat on the ground, not sticking it in the ground. Lay it flat on the ground, as close to the ground as you can get it, and try to clip that tee over and over and over with your hands leading, with the grip leading. You'll find that when you do it with the grip leading, it's a lot easier to contact and strike that tee than it is when your grip gets back behind. If you do nothing else other than that, work on that. That will help you to gain perspective and also practice to give you much better low point control. If you can control the low point, then you can manipulate the low point. And then you're talking about something really special. Thanks so much. See you guys next time.